It's time to take a stand, bringing the truth to a fucked up land. We've had enough of the lies and deceit. We're done for good with the toxicity. All hail thanks, we are the Rabyd Nation. All hail thanks, we are the Rabyd Nation. All hail thanks, we are the Rabyd Nation. We are the Rabyd Nation.
All right, and a hearty welcome to all of you in the Rabyd Nation. Welcome one and all. Do we have not the coolest national anthem of all nations? I think we do. So there we go. But thanks everybody for stopping by. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Tonight I'll be looking at a video by Alex O'Connor, a recent incident he was. I'm more interested in how, as somebody who's trying to normalize atheism, I'm always looking at how atheism is perceived by not just theists, but by atheists. And I've always been kind of interested in perception because in a lot of cases, perception means more than reality, especially when people make decisions. So, there's absolutely all of that. So it's kind of with that. So that's kind of where I'm heading with this video. I'm more looking closer at it, looking at the dynamics of what is going on. I'm fairly certain that Alex O'Connor is still an atheist, based on his own words. And I don't think he's anywhere remotely close to becoming a Christian, as he will point out. But I am interested in what happened around this incident, which he points out. And that's kind of what I'm looking at. Because I think it illustrates a lot of things that goes on in the space that we call this theism, atheism debate. So it's more about that than anything else. But as always, welcome to one and all. There's a goal in chat. That's just my friendly, polite way of asking for money to keep the streaming going. I don't have ads on my streams for that reason. So I want to keep that going. You'll put the ads on afterwards, after the actual live stream is over. One other announcement, for those of you who may not have seen, Earl recently cleaned up this image for you, the circumcised holy carrot. So there's that. And I just got this one, the popcorn emoji. For those of you who are throwing that popcorn emoji, you have to see the bigger version of it like this to actually see what's really going on. I thought this was very, very clever. So yeah, so there's that announcement. So there you go. So that's it. So Christians would do that. Christians, I don't know what Christians do these days. I don't know, but okay. But now we have a popcorn emoji. So if you are just enjoying watching what's going on, you're more than welcome to throw that popcorn emoji up there. So there you go. Let's see who's here. Let's see, Blossom. Yeah, we'll get into the video as we get into the video. And then let's see, John was here from Holland. Senator Fred is here. Rimmer is here. Merlin. Dragon Rider is here. Brimstone by Daily Dose of Wisdom. Okay. All hail Fangs, yes. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm gonna look at the video in detail because there's the thing with this video that struck me as a guy who has a religious background who also has a poli-sci degree, and so I look at like the social dynamic and things and why people do the things they do, particularly when it comes to propaganda and viewpoint and trying to create a narrative. I always thought I always find these little interactions between when things go wrong like this interesting for that reason. So, Evan, yeah, good to see Evan. From Indian Lake, we got Wolf. Brian is here. All right. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to be like Saturday Night at the Atheist and take 10 minutes to get into things. So I'm gonna turn the sound off so I can pull up the vid. And I'm going to pause him, go back to the beginning. And there we go. All right, let's turn the volume back on. And I want to get into this, and I'm going to let Alex explain the situation because he lived it. So there's that.
Right. Can everybody just like chill out a little bit, please? Alex O'Connor just admitted it. Christianity might actually be true. He debated Christians for years, then admitted this about Jesus. Did Alex O'Connor convert to Christianity? Alex O'Connor is no longer an atheist? Alex O'Connor, no longer an atheist. Here's why. Alex O'Connor, no longer an atheist. Here's why. Part 2. Alex O'Connor just admitted this about Christianity. Did Alex O'Connor change his mind about Christianity? Are you ready to die, cosmic skeptic? Okay, that one actually sounds a bit like a threat, but I'm sure it's driving at the same thing. Okay, so
I want to stop right there. I am so glad like he posted like everybody's channel name and everything else and the link to their channel and everything, because I think when you're dealing with a situation like this, you absolutely have to do that. Like you have to show what everybody else's perception of what this supposed thing was. Now, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to disagree with Alex on a couple of the things that he says, but maybe that's because I've been around a little bit longer and I've analyzed a few things a little bit more. But yeah, I'm so glad that he did that. He brought the receipts he definitely brought the receipts. And that's the important thing. Like I'm putting up their video, I'm putting up their title, I'm putting up who they are right in front of everybody. And this just kind of shows the excitement that some theists have when they hear anything hopeful from an atheist. So, yeah, he definitely looks very amused. He's actually laughing about it a little bit, and he's going to give some of the reasons here that I find very, very hilarious. Well, thanks, Leighton. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. So, but yes. That's one. And as usual, the Holy Bunny hat is always leading on a Saturday. So, if we get to that mark, that hat will go on and I'll have to even be more serious about things. And I hate that. So I don't know if it's amused or bemused. It could be, Senator, but yeah. Gullible Cosmic, right? Coming up after the verse. Yeah. So he's laid out all the receipts. And now, and the last one is like, are you ready to die? I'm like, this is one of those cases where like, do Christians understand how that's being perceived? It's like, I remember when I was on an evangelism team and there were two like teenage girls, like standing up next to the local Dairy Queen or whatever. And we were evangelizing on the street. And the one guy would just walked up to these girls and say, hey, are you ladies washed in the blood? And that's like, how do you realize how that was perceived? That maybe that probably wasn't the greatest way to do that. So, so there's that. But yes, yeah, that last one I think was a little bit over the top. Hey, Earl, the lap in which our Lord naps is here. I'm just showing off your emojis earlier. The popcorn one is a big hit, I think, so far. So there's that. Yes, Mom is here. So, yeah. They all missed you last time. They did. All right, so let's get back to Alex here. So he's very, very amused, I think.
So what happened? Something super significant must have gone down to cause all of this ruckus. Well, I'll tell you. I recently had a conversation with Bear Grylls in which he asked me where my study of Christianity and theology has led me. And I told him, wait for it, that I think Christianity is more plausibly true than the new atheists do and than I did when I was a teenager. Can you believe it?
But you've had such a journey, and you've met so many amazing people, and you've debated so many different angles and things.
Yeah.
Where's it led you to?
It's led me to, well, I used to be quite on board with the new atheism stuff. I've spoken about this a lot on my show.
What does that mean?
You know, like the sort of Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, it was really popular, the debates that they were doing, they called it new atheism.
Yeah.
And it was this body of like atheist thought with the God delusion, this kind of stuff, which was really popular. And it had this sort of quite strident, you know, debate me bro kind of attitude. And I was really swept up by that. I thought that was really exciting and cool. And I was beginning to sort of shake that off and, you know, grow up a bit, essentially. And then running the podcast, what I've realized is this is far more interesting and intricate, and I would say plausible than I'd given it credit for before. So, you know, I'm still not a Christian. Not true, not even plausible, but just more plausible than I thought when I was a teenager. And it was actually
Okay, I want to stop right there because I always get this every time the new atheist movement is brought up when it comes to Alex O'Connor. I don't know that it's more adult to move away from what the new atheists were doing because they were all adults, but they were all reacting to something that was much more in their minds. Like the new atheist movement had a catalyst, and that was 9/11. Like the idea that religious zealots would take their religious extremism to a point where they would, you know, blow up buildings and stuff. So yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. I'll post it up there so everybody can see it, Earl. There you go. So hit the link. I don't know what she's up to. I never do. But yes, I got to this point when I was watching Alex's video because his response, because I watched the original video. There was like a 10-minute clip. And I'm going to say this about the new atheists. I think they were necessary for the time we were living. I think now, I would look back. I don't disagree with what they were saying, probably at all. I still think religion poisons everything. I still think it's something that we need to outgrow. And I still think that, you know, I'm an anti-theist as a compassionate person who thinks that it does a lot of damage to society. So for me, I think if we're going to grow up as a society, we need to put aside religion. And I don't, you know, do I say that religion doesn't do any good? That depends on what you mean. But I still stand by one of Christopher Hitchens' arguments of show me how the religion is necessary for the good thing to be done. Can we do the good thing without the religion? And if the answer is yes, then we don't need the religion. We can Occam razor the religion part out of it. And that's kind of where I've been standing. So there's that. But yes, I do. I am the most awkward person to give gifts to, Earl, because it's like I don't know why people give me gifts. I always feel like weirded out about it. But yeah, he's more of an atheism plus. I think he and I are kind of philosophically going the same direction, but I have a different reason for doing it than he does. He seems to think like the new atheist movement was more about debate me, bro. Not always. Like it was more about clearing up what atheism was, because back then they were even more entrenched in the idea that atheism is another religion or whatever. And they were always like, what do you have to offer and all this other stuff. And it was still, there was a lot of everybody picking fights back then. And so you kind of had to be a little bit of a fighter to be in the space. So there's that. Yes, I'm just being real. Come on. Yeah, religion steals a lot of things too. And so it's like, I don't I know it's terrible. I don't know how people care about me. Like this is a constant running debate with me, my therapist, Evan, as to why I have such a low, when you've been indoctrinated in Christianity since you were a kid, that always tells you that you're shit and not worth anything. even though you get rid of the doctrine, that attitude, that mental training sticks around. So yes. So yeah, I know that promise doesn't mean anything, Earl. Don't make promises you won't keep. So, but there you go. But yes, that's kind of the way it is. But yes, the thing I'm hearing though is like, I want to go a different direction and have an honest conversation. I can agree with that part. I'm already hearing that in his voice. So there we go. But yes.
Clip of this moment, which went out on my second YouTube channel, that caused all of these responses. I mean, can you believe it? A non-believer in God, like me, is willing to attribute more plausibility to Christianity than someone like Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens, or indeed his own teenage self. Can you believe it? I mean, I can't think of a single explanation as to why that would be the case, except that he's secretly on the verge of some kind of grand conversion. No, he's too clever for that. He would never become a Christian. It must be that he's realized Christianity is cool again, and he wants to capitalize on an increased viewership by leaning into Christianity, thereby making a whole lot more money. Okay, so here's what really happened. If you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I'm quite a staunch critic of Christianity and religion and theism in general. And when I was like 17 or 18 and I started making videos, I was a lot more forthright with that atheism. I thought that atheism wasn't just true, but beneficial for society. I thought that religion was harmful. I was really in line with the new atheists like Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens, who influenced me greatly into a position that religion is just this utterly irrational and evil force in the world. In the past decade, I've come to see this as something of a shallow view. I think it depends on the...
Okay, I still don't think that that's a shallow view. Okay, I think that's an honest assessment when you really... Alex shows all the characteristics of somebody who never really grew up in religion and hasn't had to come out of it and realize the disaster that has made their life. And I know that that's a very experiential argument, but I hear that argument from former theists who become atheists all the time. Like, it seems, isn't it interesting to me that, at least in my experience, and so it's anecdotal, but every time I talk to somebody who used to be in Christianity and has come out, they have a far more negative view of religion in the world than some people that have never really been religious. Did he grow up in religion? I'm not sure if he did, but I know he started at 18 and he was a critic of the arguments for the existence of God, like right away. So I don't know if he grew up in it, but it obviously didn't take hold. But when people talk about years and decades of their life missing because of their religion and how a negative impact that had, and that's repeated over and 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 over again. I hear that on this channel all the time. When people come here to talk about their deconversion, there's nothing really good to talk about of some of the things other than what they're getting over. I miss you. I miss Native. Hey, Native. All right. So, but yeah, I get the importance of having sympathy for religion's folks and not acting like they're idiots. Being a smart man can believe absolutely stupid things. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. Like whenever I look at the bigger picture of religion, it's like, if I'm going to put it on a balancing scales and its effect positive or negative, I'm going to weigh heavy on the negative because I've lived it, been inside it. And as somebody who has an insider leadership position kind of viewpoint, religion is just one of those things. So there you go. I think Alex, he thinks he's coming up with a mature view. And I if he watches this, Alex, I'm not like getting after you, but my problem with your viewpoint here is this. Those of us who have experientially dealt with the negative effects of religion in our lives and continue to do so are going to disagree and push back on you on this one, because I literally have to go to therapy twice a month just to keep myself together and to constantly unravel the bullshit over 40 years of doing this stuff. Okay. So when I look at religion and its negative effects, it's far more personal, and I'll admit that, but I also see that in so many other people. Like, religion still, to me, poisons everything. Superstition poisons everything. It's an old way of living. It's an old way of thinking that keeps us from making progress in a lot of areas of our life. And to me, I think Christopher Hitchens' subtitle is still valid. Like, it still poisons everything. Does the poison make some of it unedible? No, but it still isn't going to do you any good. So it's like, it's my issue with this. I don't, when you feel deceived and you understand the deception of it, it's falsity. I think Bertrand Russell had, I'm paraphrasing him, I remember listening to him, how can anything good come out of believing a falsehood? Like, how can you get there? And I think it's a very valid question. And, so I kind of disagree with Alex on this one. I get what he's saying, because I know the desire. I have the same desire to have like a decent conversation. And so, yeah, I know he studied like philosophy and theology. I've been following Alex. Holy crap. Since he was probably 18, since he started his channel. So it's like he's been on my file, I've been watching his videos for quite some time. So it's like, I get what he's saying, but I also get the fact that I think the new atheists were onto something big, and they probably should have been listened to more, because here we are. So and sleep and worship fangs. And it's yeah, thank you, Asho, for the 2 years. I appreciate that. That's longevity. I was just singing your praises a couple days ago about, and on my Thanksgiving deconversion one, Asho, that you're one of the people that kept the stream going. And I think Earl right now is kind of helping with that too. I'm Earl, I was picking on you earlier. I know that you keep your word. You've been very good at that. So I appreciate that. So the goal's been reached. Thanks, everybody. All right. Yes, the Fluffle and Earl. I appreciate Earl a lot. So you are here. Okay. Yeah. It asshole. I can't thank you enough. Like, you kept the channel running. Okay. At the time when I was really thinking about quitting. So, and moving in a different direction. So, and it turned out to be a great year. This year has been good. Not as fabulous as the year before, but it's been good. The streaming thing has started to work for me. And if I get my crap together, a lot of other things will work for me. So appreciate all of you. But yes. No. Oh, asshole's going to curtsy. That's awkward. Is your eye still banged up? Can you look somebody in the eye while you're doing that? Oh my goodness. Oh. Can the channel end run? Does it explode or go under a certain speed? No one is shockable. Okay, there we go. But yes, I get what Alex is saying. Like, he's like, I've considered it. I guess I come from the different angle. Like, I dove into it, became a pastor, and slowly came out of it because of the nonsense I kept discovering and the nonsense I continue to discover. So it might be an experiential thing of how we've experienced Christianity. But I'm sorry, when I started reading the New Atheists and stuff, when all that was going on 10, 20 years ago, I was seeing a lot of truth in what they were saying based on where I was at the time. Like, Christopher Hitchens' book, God is Not Great, to me is a great statement of what's wrong with religion. It's not just the big things either. It's the little things that it does every day. Like, there's tons of young men that are going to be called into the ministry this year that if they might do very well in some other field of study, some other field of work that actually might be beneficial to people. And instead they're going to waste a lot of time and energy like I did in all of that. So it's not something that I think is a good thing. Like, I've told people before on this channel, like, if you're thinking about going into the ministry, at least take this advice from an atheist who used to be a pastor. Go get a degree or something. Go find some certification, a job where you can make money, because you're probably going to end up broke. So the vast majority of ministers end up in front of congregations of 20 to 30 people. So you might want to consider that. So, hey. Oh, thanks, Martin. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yes. The diabolical atheists. Here we are. The more I learn about religion, about what people believe, the more bonkers it seems to me, but I've never been a believer. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, Michael. It's like, it's when you really haven't been deep dived in it experientially, you can kind of see the good in it. But I've been there too deep, and it's just, I don't have the, I just don't have the capacity to see good in it anymore. Maybe that's just my experience, but it's like, except I see other people damaged by it too. And I'm not the only one anymore. Like, I used to think I was the only one. Am I the only one thinking this way? And then you start an atheist channel and realize there's a lot of people that think that way. And deconversion to me is it's a more of a personal issue to me because of how much of it's affected my life. So yeah, you got to lie your ass off if you want to make the big bucks. If you're an honest minister, there's a pretty good chance you'll be in a small congregation. I never had a big church. I'm not a mega church pastor. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, it's so many ways different, diluted. So yeah, but yes, I get that. Hey, Alex, good to see you. But yes, and so at this particular point, I get what he was saying, because everybody kind of blew up at this, but I was like, I disagreed with it, but I was pretty low key about it. I don't think he's becoming a Christian because he said that. I'm just like, he's going through an idea of, well, maybe there's more to this than first meets the eye. But at the same time, the guy has done, like, of his last 20 videos, 18 of them are bashing Christianity as a falsehood. So I don't know. Religious hucksters. See, the thing with a used car salesman, okay, let's compare the things, okay? A used car salesman is at least selling you a car. Like, you can put your hands on the car, you can touch it, you can look at it, you can do that. IT will make you promises, and sometimes they'll come through. So there's some reality to IT and car salesmen. With religious figures, they're selling an imaginary product that you only get the guarantee applied after you're dead. So yeah, apologists, I would put underneath the IT and the used car salesman. I think the used car salesman and IT probably have better ethics. So there you go. Politicians are in the same boat. I think at least politicians are dealing with reality. Like, they have to deal with real people and real issues, stuff that actually comes up. So yeah, you got to put them above apologists slightly as well, but not much. One of the shockers was a Catholic Church official tell a bureaucrat they're okay to participate in the Holocaust as long as they didn't enjoy it. And he was, yeah, that's the thing, Michael. Like, you're in that world. Like, it's like, and I always like your information on this issue because I know you're getting it a little bit more from the other side, but it's like when you can see how people can justify anything using religion and an authoritative ethics, like, Genetically Modified Skeptic did a great video today. If you guys get a chance, go over and watch it. But it's like, he's talking about how authority is used to justify everything in religion. And so you can be mean and whatever and justify it based on your religion. So it's one of the poisoning aspects of religion, that why I won't give it any credit. I'm not going to give it any credit anymore. So that's kind of there. So there's that. Yes. Hey, Fred. It's in the wider scale, previous atheist authors possible. Yes, I think the big thing that they did that was positive, Senator Fred, was this, that they opened up the whole dynamic of being able to talk about atheism in the public conversation without doing it in whispered tones. Like, if there's one thing that they did is, and maybe that's why they had to be so over to the top, is because I don't think people understand the atmosphere for the new atheists. Like, atheists were these weirdos in a corner that we didn't talk about. And then all of a sudden you had four of them, the four horsemen, out there talking openly, publicly, getting in theists' faces about their, extremes of their evil and practices and stuff. And so, yes, I think what they did that was very, very positive is allowed, like me and Alex and all the other atheist YouTubers probably owe the fact that we can get on here and talk very openly and freely about this subject because of them. Like that's because of them. So yeah, there's a lot of better choices you can find than in Christianity. But yes, I think what Alex is dealing with, I want to get to the main issue though that I want to deal with, because Alex is going to hit this. So I'm going to play this for a little bit.
Religious tradition, because they're quite different. I think it depends on the time in history. I think it depends on the cultural context. And yeah, of course, any historian or sociologist will tell you that it's never as straightforward as I think the new atheists made it out to be. But also on the point of God's, existence, I also think that the new atheists didn't really give enough credence to some of the arguments for the existence of God. Richard Dawkins, for example, in The God Delusion, spends 2 pages on Thomas Aquinas's famous 5 ways.
Okay, I'm going to make a comment here to Alex, and I hope Alex does hear this. There are other atheists besides Richard Dawkins who have done very good exposés on the 5 ways. So maybe the new atheists didn't cover it to your satisfaction, but I know that there are many other philosophers that have. But I would also say this, maybe Richard Dawkins had read it and understood it and figured it only deserved 2 pages, because whenever I read Thomas Aquinas, I'm like, this guy is so far back. Like, he does not understand some basic things about the universe that we have discovered. And so, yes, I think that's kind of, there's something, so there's that. Yes, authority. Horse peeps, yes. Oh, yeah, Evan. Yes, I wish statements. Yeah, he does do a lot of wish statements. Yeah, I mean, he was a biologist anyway, and so he's a geneticist in particular, and he's actually came up with a field of genetics. So, but yes, the thing with Dawkins dealing with this is why would he be the one I would require to deal with it? I would rather have somebody philosophically dealing with, the 5 ways. I don't think that I remember reading Thomas Aquinas's 5 ways, and I was not impressed. I haven't done like a specific critique on it, but it was like, there's so many assumptions here that, yeah, it is. Yeah. Epicurus. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, I found them repetitious. There's bad foundations to them. And so the fact that Dawkins only gives 2 pages to it, I don't care. Dawkins is not the guy I want to read about that. Like, I'm going to read Aquinas and those who are critical of Aquinas directly. And I think just because the new atheists didn't do that, that doesn't mean that they were wrong. So, it's like, they didn't represent all of atheism. So like, yeah, sorry, Alex. I think you're like, this is the same trap that a lot of theists call, and well, they didn't give us an alternative. It's like, or they didn't do this completely, or didn't. There are 4 guys that got out there and made it so it was okay to talk as an atheist, talk about being an atheist, and counter some of the bullshit that was being said. Like, I think that's the thing that you have to remember about the 4 horsemen is, and 2 of them are dead now. So it's like, it's, and one of them is probably very soon to be, it's like, you got to remember about these guys, what they did that was revolutionary was not so much their great arguments or whatever else. It was pointing out to religion, hey, you know what? You're not always what you're cracked up to be. And I don't think you should always be the thing of ethics and morality and all that stuff. And they also allowed atheists to talk. Like, suddenly we were allowed to talk, and not in hushed tones or with somebody waving a finger in our face saying you can't say that. Like, so he doesn't. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I don't want to. You want to do a response video with Ed and Earl as your dream team? Actually, Earl sent me a clip. It's the infamous, I won't say the word because Earl will freak, but clip from an old stream of ours. So, where you had to be an asshole like you always are. There you go. But yeah, so I don't know. we'll see if Alex has any
2
more.
pages. And I think in a way that doesn't properly deal with the significance of the arguments that Aquinas was putting forward. Now, look, I still don't believe in God. Okay? Like, I just don't think that it's true.
Okay, so still an atheist.
But what I will say is that when I was 17 or 18 and I was swept up with this kind of material, I thought that all of the arguments for God's existence were complete nonsense, and that all the arguments against God's existence were an epitome of perfect rationality. I've now come to prefer the term agnostic over atheist. I mean, it's a problem in itself, even trying to define what God is and what God would look like, but I think there are good reasons to believe in God. I also think there are very good reasons to not believe in God. And some of you might be thinking, what, like good reasons to believe in God? What are you talking about? I don't mean like conclusive reasons. I don't mean that I have like an argument which should compel a rational person to say that God exists. I just mean that there are like compelling considerations. And look, I don't really want to go into them now, and I don't have time exactly, but that's not even the point, because all this video, what?
Okay, and I agree that that's not really the point. I would say that as somebody who analyzed and used the arguments for the existence of God for a long time, yeah, they're all kind of circular and bullshit. Like, I've come to that conclusion. So I don't really agree here at all. Like, there's some validity to them. I think most of them are crap, and more preaching to the choir than actually helping anybody. So yeah, we'll think about that. Yeah, the problem with the clip is I don't have it like queued up, and I don't think I have it converted either. So I work on StreamYard, but so yeah, I don't get compelling either. And so, he's still an atheist. He still doesn't believe in God. He still has a lot of heavy duty criticism of Christianity. So I don't see him becoming a Christian. But I get what he's saying. There's a lot of people that don't like the term atheist, and he's going to kind of lean up to the term agnosticism in a minute here. But it's like, if you don't believe in God, you're an atheist. And I'm sorry that term has been propagandized to death. And, it's like there's an emotional reaction to the word by a lot of people. And it's like, you need to get over that. That's why I try to normalize it. Like, it's like, it should be a deconverted clip. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have to, like, I can't play Alex's video here without StreamYard having it in a format that they want. So you have to convert it, and so you can use it for yourself and all that jazz. So there you go. But yeah, I'm not really sure what's compelling here.
Is a clip from a podcast in which, by the way, Bear Grylls just like asks me, where has this led you? And I say, like, what, since the beginning of my career? I mean, I think it's more plausible than I did when I was a teenager. That's it. That's not like an extraordinary thing to say. I mean, if you were listening to a Christian who started out when they were 17 on YouTube talking about like why Christianity is definitely true, and someone asked them 10 years later where their exploration of philosophy had led them, and they said something like, I've got to say, like, atheism has a lot more going for it than I thought when I started when I was 17. It posed a much sort of bigger challenge. I think there were lots of interesting considerations, the problem of evil and divine hiddenness. There are really robust philosophical versions of this. They might say, as someone who's a Christian, I've realized that atheism is much more plausible than I thought when I was a teenager. And similarly, it shouldn't be that surprising to hear an atheist who has for the past 10 years dedicated his life to studying philosophy and theology say that, yeah, there are some pretty good arguments on the other side. And, speaking of...
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. Like, if the shoe was on the other foot, like if you had some notable Christian then suddenly said that atheism has some more compelling arguments than I thought, you wouldn't be saying that they were going to stop being a Christian, okay, and become an atheist. You're just saying that there's a little bit more here than I originally thought. Like, in your youthful exuberance, you can think that you're going to wave your hand and just lay out your arguments and everything is going to just materialize. But as we all know, people change slowly and they don't do this kind of stuff overnight. So I think the valid point that Alex is making here is, like, if some Christian was saying somewhat similar things to the opposite of what he said, nobody would be saying that he was going to give up Jesus. So it's not one of those things. So real evidence is, oh my gosh. If you guys, I've got to plug Earl's blog today. She did the latest installment of Fangsology. So you can go over there and read, Chabanakula, is dealing with Habermas. So, and Fangs and everybody, our hero continues to have his thing. So head over to Earl's blog and you can read that if you're in for a laugh. It's pretty good. So, but the arguments I have been hearing, but that's always been my contention. Okay, well, that's fair. Do you have an active belief in God? No. Okay, well, you're an atheist. You don't believe in something. You don't believe in a God, so you're an atheist. And that's the real problem, because the other side is so propagandized that word that even atheists are embarrassed by it. Like, it's like, and I'm not, I'm the rabid atheist, so I'm not embarrassed by the term. To me, it's just an accurate descriptor of somebody who doesn't believe in God. So that's kind of the end of it. So there you go. Evidence society. Chibunika. There we go. See, I can't say it right. That's why I have you around, Earl, to say things right for me. I have a hard time with words. Words escape me sometimes. Words are hard. So,
not knowing what sources of information to trust and doing things for money. You'll also know, if you've watched this channel for a while now, that for some time I've been recommending a way to deal with bias in the online space. We can never get rid of bias, of course, but wouldn't it with this idea that I'm grifting?
All right, I got to move ahead because he has
that you would otherwise miss based on the verge of conversion. He's definitely about to that unlimited access Vantage plan. And with that said, let's talk about some online bias, shall we? The thing that really annoys me is that there are like two kinds of responses to this video that I've been getting that I don't like. One is from the Christian community who say, aha, I knew it. He's on the verge of conversion. He's definitely about to become a Christian, and we're just waiting for Jesus to fully open his eyes, or something like that. The second is from atheist listeners who think that I've essentially lost my mind. And that also tends to come along with this idea that I'm grifting, right? That I'm kind of trying to cotton onto a trend and, I don't know, make more money off like pretending to be nearly a Christian or something. Alex sees that there is a massive fascistic turn happening and is now becoming Christian to save his own skin. Cowardly. What a fraud. Just fast forward to your inevitable coming to Jesus moment and stop wasting people's time. You can pivot your channel's content to atheist converts to Christianity and realizes how wrong he was all along. The Bible thumpers will eat it up. Sad to see stupidity prevail over logic and intelligence. Sad atheist grift failed. Time to jump on the megachurch conversion Christian tour. It's sad and pathetic to watch someone who was once respectable turn into a complete grifter. So, how much did the lobby pay you? Alex is quasi-famous now, and he can't afford a haircut that doesn't look like a small dead animal on his head. Actually, that one's fair enough. Oh dear, now old Alex has fallen too. Only Dawkins left. I'm sorry, but fallen from what? Like fallen from the kind of steadfast atheism.
Okay, well, I know what you're saying. Okay, I know what you're saying. I get it. I absolutely get it with what some of these atheists are having a disappointment with. Okay, but I'm going to be critical of them too for a minute. Just because somebody goes through a stage where they're engaging the arguments a little bit more seriously as an atheist doesn't mean they're going to convert. It's kind of like those moments when you hear about people deconverting and then they get to the end of their deconversion and they come back into the faith, better able to deal with the issues of their faith, supposedly. I think given Alex's, we got to remember Alex is like 26. Okay. And so I'm sorry, there's a development as you get older. You look back at your 20s and you go, man, I believe a lot of stupid shit. Okay, and there's an element of that here too. Okay, that's just natural human development. But at the same time, I'm not seeing Alex do that, because if you look at all the other parts of his content, and he'll point this out in a minute, it's very, very strongly anti-religious and anti-Christian in particular. He's not. I don't know how you pretend to be a Christian while remaining an atheist. I don't know how you do that. I tried to do that for 2 years and I couldn't pull it off. It ended up blowing up in my face. So yeah, you have to watch it from the beginning. It's just put it this way. Alex he made some statements on a podcast about how he was engaging Christianity a little bit more seriously because there seemed to be, it might be a little bit more true than he thought it was. when he was a young atheist. Like he feels like he's growing up in his viewpoints on things. And I would point out, said, no, that's just it's a cycle we all go through. We go back and forth with our views all the time. So there you go. But yeah, I feel like at this point, I understand what he's saying, and I understand what the atheists are saying. It's like, oh, why don't we just fast forward to your conversion? Like I talked about this a couple weeks ago about what would happen if I suddenly went back into Christianity. How popular would my channel get? And it was off of Pelagia's words at the end of one of his videos on Habermas. So like, yeah, if I change the name of my channel from, what I do to affirming Christianity, I would suddenly grow in popularity because there's a far larger Christian audience base on YouTube than there is an atheist one. Plus, these Christians, I think somebody said it back in here. I don't think I can find it quickly. So, but it's like, there is a fascination that certain theists have with any atheist that even remotely comes towards their position in the least and slightest manner. And it's like, I get it. And so they jump on this bandwagon. And he gave all the receipts at the beginning of his video about these YouTubers. Oh, Alex is finally going to accept Christianity. Well, the problem is now the atheists buy into that too. Like, oh, why don't you just fast forward to when you give your heart to Jesus? I'm not sure that that's what Alex was saying. Like, so I'm not sure. About Doug Winston and Sam Harris, many of the Christians, he's not questioning them at all. He's letting them talk. It comes off, yeah, this is good. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, it comes off as this is good. I think at some point, I agree with you, Blossom, that somebody needs to say, yeah, that's kind of nuts. That's kind of bullshit. I saw what Sam Harris did with the One Christian National, so I almost did the edited version of that video tonight because that was my one other consideration. But it was like, the thing is, if you let these people talk, they come off almost as more nuts than if you try to interact with them because they end up keep encouraging them to say it. It really depends on the person. Yeah, he is a youngin'. I like him though. Like but I also feel like I've been through enough stuff with religion that yes, I can discard this and say it's no good. Like it's, if you keep going to a brand and they keep producing a shit product, it's not being biased to say that they produce a shit product. Like, and religion is that way for me. When I see it, and all my mythology are obviously equally fantasy to me. 50 minutes and then trying to act like a Christian, which they thought was about saying I act better than most Christians because they always are fighting. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully I brought you up to speed. So Alex is kind of like, on the one hand, he's defending against these theists that think he's about to convert. And then he's got these atheists who are jumping in the chat and are like, oh, it's sad to see another mighty atheist thinker fall. And it's like, and all he said was, well, I've kind of matured in my thinking, I think. And I don't think religion is complete nonsense anymore. That like people have good reasons in their head. Like it's like an economic reason to me. Like everybody's reasons for their economic decisions is rational to them. Like you can make the worst economic decision in your life, but it's still rational to you. It still makes sense to you. And so when you look at religion, I feel like that's a way a lot of people stay in their religion and make the decisions about their religion. It's rational to them. I don't think Alex is going to be a Christian tomorrow. Okay. I think he prefers the term agnostic. And I point out, I'm like, dude, do you believe, you openly just said you have no active belief in God, so you're still an atheist. So it's like, let's not mix terms here. So you're worried about the porn mustache? Peter Hitchens. Oh, that guy. That guy. Yeah. Anything in our clip that has been saying absolutely all the time. He's like, he was still saying stuff that he's always said. Like he wants good conversations. I have the same desire to have a good conversation with people. It's rare. It hardly happens. Like any of you who have been in the chat for any length of time knows that when a theist shows up, it's usually not a good scene because they're just ready to preach and they're just preaching at you. They've got their thing or whatever, and that's all it is. And so we end up, putting them in timeout multiple times. And then, some of you break out the popcorn and that sort of thing. So there's that, but there is that sort of thing. But yes, I don't think he's heading anywhere near Christianity based on all of his other videos.
Which says that there is literally no such thing as a plausible argument for religion or Christianity. That there's not like one marginally good reason to think that religion or Christianity might be true. If that's your position, we're just not on the same page. But that is not the same thing as becoming a Christian or being on the verge of doing so. And to prove it, I just want to show you something. So this video was taken from my second YouTube channel, More Alex O'Connor, and I just want to show you some other YouTube video titles from that self-same YouTube channel. Debating why the Bible isn't true versus Dinesh D'Souza. Was Jesus the serpent in the Garden of Eden? Pressing Ben Shapiro on contradictions in Scripture. Why contradictions in the Bible matter. And across my content, I've got videos explaining why I think Jesus didn't claim to be God. Where Jesus is specifically asked to clarify his relationship to the Father and tells us that he is only in relationship with him in such a way that everybody else can be in relationship with them too. Why the problem of evil is the biggest problem for Christianity. I don't think I'd expect to see anything like this circus of suffering. How the Bible obviously contains falsehoods and mythologies and often contradicts itself. Every contradiction? All of them? How about, for instance, how I think the Bible promotes sexism. If there is something they want to learn, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is shameful for a woman to speak in church. And slavery.
The scriptural injunctions towards the ownership of other human beings as private property, the bequeathing of them to your children as inheritable property, and the differential treatment of slaves who are Israelites and slaves who are not.
And genocide. I get sick to death of people hand-waving away this genocide by some vague reference to the fact that Jesus came along to do something which somehow kind of undoes the immorality of it. And so, in the face of all of that, one clip in which I say, yeah, Christianity has got something going for it, and it's got more going for it than I realized when I was a teenager, causes like this kind of reaction. And I think...
Yes, and Evan, this is kind of where I'm at with this. Like this is my only problem with this particular video is like he says there's some compelling things about Christianity, but he never specifically says why. Okay, and that's my criticism. My criticism isn't like he's going to be a Christian anytime soon or anything like that. It's like if you're going to make as part of your argument that I just find certain parts of it compelling, I'm like, well, what? Okay, as an atheist, as somebody who's come out of Christianity, as somebody who's come out of this, what is it? Give me just one example of something you think is compelling. And I think the reason he doesn't is he knows that he's going to get a chat comment like, how's that compelling? Like that's kind of where I'm at. Okay. Like with this, like, okay, if you're going to sit here and say that something in Christianity is compelling, can you please tell me what it is? I hope that maybe sometime soon he'll do a video of what he feels is compelling in Christianity, because I would love to debunk it, because I don't find anything compelling about Christianity anymore. Okay. Like I don't find anything compelling at all. Once you start developing your standards of evidence and you understand what constitutes proof and evidence, it changes the dynamic. It really does. And so you go back and look at what you used to believe back in the day, and it's like, I don't find that compelling anymore. Like, I'm glad that he takes Christianity apart. I mean, I think his debate with Dinesh was so telling about Dinesh represents so many Christians and people that believe in God where, they don't really think about what they're saying or what their book says. And he absolutely destroys that. But it's like, would you please, if there's something compelling about Christianity, could you tell me what it is? Because I want to know, because I don't find anything compelling as an atheist anymore. As a former Christian of 40 years, as somebody who was a minister for 20 years, nothing about Christianity compels me anymore. So what is it about compelling to you? I really want to know. Okay, so that's my issue. I'm looking for a pro argument for Christianity. Where is it? Yeah, that's the question. I don't think he's becoming like a theist. I think I get what he's doing. He's trying to engage the Christian. He's trying to talk to them instead of yell at them, which is something I want to do too. But I can do that and tell them, yeah, well, I think that's complete utter nonsense. And that's not being a new atheist or being combative. It's just like, how do you, I see what you just said there and it's nonsense to me. And this is why it's nonsense. Okay. You can have that kind of conversation with a theist without acknowledging anything. So this is the one area that I really disagree with what he's saying. Like, if you're going to say there's something compelling about Christianity, that's great, but it's not, you can bash on Christianity all the while. I mean, I think it's reported, I remember reading once, George Washington was a Christian, but he was a big critic of Christianity. Like that's why a lot of people think, him praying in Valley Forge and all that stuff is nonsense, because he wasn't like that. Okay. So you can be, you can have all this criticism of Christianity and still be a Christian. So that doesn't prove that there's something compelling about Christianity. What is it that's compelling about Christianity? Because that's my question. Like, what is it? So you just sent me the clip. Okay. All right. Let me go with this. Hang around. We'll throw it up there at some point. I may get tired of Alex here because I've gotten my issue right now. I think I can express the issue that I have right now is there is a dogmatism that I think Alex is trying to go against, but this is not the way. Okay. Like, it's like if somebody says, like, is there anything compelling about Christianity? He may be leading up to a whole series of videos that he's going to do. Is this compelling about Christianity? He gets to the end of it. You know what? I was wrong. I don't think there is anything compelling about Christianity. I don't know what he's doing. But the thing I do know is, like, there is this part of atheism that if anybody says anything nice about religion or Christianity or something that a Christian does, there'll be a whole bunch of atheists that'll, in their dogmatic way, that'll jump right down your throat. Just like Christians, when they hear something even remotely hopeful about an atheist, they got to jump on that bandwagon and produce 10 videos. It's like it's an all or nothing. And I don't think the world is all or nothing all the time. So it's that. So I remember that. It's really just heaven. That's it. There's nothing good about Christianity in this life. No, there really isn't. You have a different take on it? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of different takes on this. Like, I get what he's doing in a sense, but I don't think Christianity as currently expressed is something that he would embrace. I can see him embracing a deistic view of God, because a lot of atheists go that route. They think, well, I can't prove God doesn't exist, so I'm just going to kind of hold on to it. I don't see him becoming a Christian, though. I think that if you're going to go back from atheism to Christianity, okay, here's my criticism of people that do that, because I automatically ask the question, okay, you had all these questions of Christianity, and that's why you became an atheist in the first place. How has Christianity now answered those questions? Have those questions been answered? And if the answer is no, then why the hell are you changing? Okay, the questions are still valid. Like, the questions are still there. Yeah, I've seen that part too. I don't know if we'll get there, but it's like there's some misrepresentation too that goes on with this. And I want to point that out too. Yeah, he's thinking too much and he's honest about it. That's a possibility too. And so I know where he is now. He's an atheist, prefers the term of agnostic. I have my objections to that. I don't find anything compelling in Christianity. He seems to think there is something. So, but I get it. So yeah, I want to get to the misrepresentation part.
Some of the responses I've been getting to this demonstrate an incredibly low barrier of intellectual engagement, right? Because if you just saying that the other side, so to speak, is maybe more plausible than some people give it credit for, and actually there are some good reasons to disagree with my position. I still believe what I believe, but I think there are good reasons that I have to tackle on the other side. If just saying that is enough to get accusations that you either must be on the brink of a conversion or you're like outwardly grifting to the other side. What does that say about the state of our ability online to have conversations about important topics? I think that the starting point of an interesting conversation should be, I think that what you're saying is really interesting and plausible, but I disagree with it, and I'm going to tell you why. If our starting point is just, there is nothing you could possibly say that will rationally convince me, because your position is rationally indefensible. Not only that, but it's also evil and a terrible force in the world. And right now, I just don't think there is anything you could possibly say to me at all to convince me that your worldview is even more plausible than its fiercest enemies propose. If that's where you're at, then fair enough, you can hold that view. I can understand looking at religions like Christianity, or for a Christian looking at atheism and just thinking that is nonsense and there is no way I can even take that seriously. Fine, you can do that, but that's not what I'm engaged in. I'm trying to have interesting conversations with people because I think that most people have something interesting to say. But I also...
Okay, so I can engage this. Like I said earlier, you can still say, you can find a way to say that, I just don't see it. Do you have anything new? I've done that before. I've said, hey, I've heard that argument before and I reject it. Do you have anything different? And sometimes they'll come up with something. I agree. He just sounds like a on the fence agnostic situation to be more palatable for some of the programs he's now appearing on. Yeah, that might be true. I get the game. Sometimes you got to hate the game and not the player. I get what he's doing, but I also in spirit kind of agree with him. We have a hard time having conversations with people we have fundamental disagreements with. And so trying to keep the conversational doors open has always been a challenge for me on this channel as somebody who's a deconverted Christian ex-pastor. A lot of people come just to browbeat me, why could you do something so horrible and heinous kind of thing? And I get what he's saying. I'm not going to have a very good conversation with those people, am I? Okay, so I get what he's saying, but I think there's a way of doing this without saying the other side has good points. You can say, the reason I don't accept Christianity anymore is I just don't find the evidence compelling at all. And that's not being personally attacking of their viewpoint. It's more of a what do you got for me that's supposed to be so compelling? And it's the question I want to ask Alex too. What parts of Christianity do you find compelling? And probably off the record, he'd probably say nothing really. There's a way to do this without compromising the idea that the other side is bonkers. I still agree with Hitchens. I think religion poisons everything. That doesn't mean it's all poison, but it is all poisoned. Okay. It's if you take a bite of it, you're going to have some negative effect that's going to harm you. Okay. To me, that's the good reason just to not stay away from it and find something else. So yes, I don't find this line of reasoning. I get the spirit of what he's trying to say, but I think disagree with the tactic of just saying, oh, well, I kind of can see the reason of your point, but I don't buy it. And here's why. Well, it's I don't know if I want to give them that much credence. Okay. I don't want to be dishonest and say, yeah, I want to give you some sort of points for your viewpoint when I don't think there is a point that you've made yet. Okay. So I am an anti-theist for a reason. I am definitely in that camp because I think religion does poison everything. Superstition poisons everything. It's not good for us as a human species. It keeps us at each other's throats. It keeps us, tribalistic. I think that's the most damning thing about it. It keeps us in this delusional fog, we have answers. We egotistically think we have answers. And I don't know is the most humbling thing a person can say sometimes. And I wish religion doesn't allow you to say it. So I get it too. I just think that people are being a little bit, it's if you don't have a belief in God, you're an atheist. You just call yourself an agnostic atheist and get over it, which is what I do. Yeah, I think so too. I agree. I think off the record, if I asked him off the record, what compelling argument is there for theism? He's going to probably say, he's going to hem and haw, there isn't one, is there, Alex? And so I don't know. I don't. It's Alex, but I don't think he's grifting either. Like, there's a part of me that says, yeah, he's got to kind of change his tone to continue to play the game. And because a lot of the hardcore atheism and a lot of the hardcore theism where people are getting at a throat is starting to become distasteful to a lot of people. So, it's like, I get where he's going, but I'm not going to go that way myself. I'm going to be like, no, I don't really find anything compelling about Christianity at all, any more than I feel like there's anything compelling about the Greek mythos of paganism back in the day, or the Babylonian mythos or the Egyptian mythos. I find them equally credible. Like, so it's like, I've gotten to that level where I think Christianity is on the same level as Islam, Judaism, Greek mythology, Norse mythology. Like, to me, it's all the same. Like, in a certain respect, it's all the same as far as credence. And so the problem with Christianity is it's so pervasive in the Western culture that everybody seems to think they have to be a little apologetic to it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be apologetic to Christianity. I think it does lots of crap. So, but yeah, he's it might have been a very relaxed conversation, John. And this is just two guys shooting the shit, and that's what came out. So, but yes, I do want to get to this one thing though.
Kind of can't blame people for thinking that I am jumping on some Christian grift, because Christians keep repurposing my material for their hopeful worship music in the background, Instagram reels talking about how great Jesus is. Sometimes when I'm asked about Christianity or religion on a podcast or something, my co-conversationalist doesn't know that much about Christianity, or is interested but hasn't really cared about it, or is someone who is a fervent atheist. And in any of those situations, it will serve the conversation quite well for me to try to steel man Christianity, for me to say, well, hold on a second, I think there are good reasons to believe in God. And it does make sense why a Christian...
There's the thing that he could have said. Let me steel man your position. I don't hold it, and I still think it doesn't hold any water, but let me steel man your position. That's a very respectful thing to do. Okay, and then throw it back at him. Is that an accurate representation of what you said? And if the answer is, okay, yeah, that's an accurate well, this is why you can still have this conversation where you say, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm steel manning your position. You agree that it steel mans your position, but I still think it's utter crap. Okay, in some nice, polite way to say it's utter crap. You can have those kind of conversations. I don't think you have to sit there and say Christianity has credence in order to have a good conversation with Christians. Okay, if that's the case, then I'm not being honest with myself at that point. So it's like, I don't know. It doesn't have a case except hearsay. Sorry, the case for the resurrection is purely hearsay. You couldn't take it to court. There's nothing compelling about it. A lot of people believed they saw something, but there's no credible argument for the resurrection that I can find. So, and that was my frustration as a theist, as somebody who is a Christian looking at apologetics and trying to find support in apologetics when I was a pastor. That was the frustrating part about it, is I can say the same things that Christians say about the resurrection that you can say about, pick me a mythological miracle, and yes, it has the same credibility. Some people say it's true, and that's it. I'm sorry, the resurrection of Jesus Christ has about as much proof as there's stories of Alexander the Great going into temples and having miracles too, and everybody witnessed those miracles. So you don't think that those were real, but somehow you believe the other book that's real that you don't know who wrote it. I'm sorry, the Gospels are hearsay, and they're based purely on hearsay accounts. None of the events we have witnesses for, they're openly stated. It's all something said. So yes, but no, I don't find anything Christianity compelling. If the resurrection is false, as Paul says, then the rest of it is garbage. So, and the resurrection just isn't proven. So
would be convinced that Jesus rose from the dead. Here are some of the arguments. How do we explain the fact that this man gets crucified by the Romans, and then people claim to see him after he died, and were willing to be put to death for that belief? Isn't that incredible? How do we explain this? Something really weird must have happened. And then they will always ask me, So hold on then, what's your explanation? And I go, well, I mean, there is still enough disagreement that I think to arouse suspicion. I mean, I'm saying this as if I'm some kind of Christian or theist. I sort of put on that hat when I'm asked to have a conversation of this kind. I mean, it does seem to me suspicious, for example, that the Gospel of Mark, which is the earliest gospel, contains no post-resurrection appearances. And then the Gospel of Matthew does include post-resurrection appearances. The Gospel of Luke includes even more. It's only in the Gospel of John that we get, for instance, doubting Thomas. So I think that there's this reason to distrust the Gospel accounts, or there's mythological development if you look at the earliest Gospel Mark and then look at the latest John and see how things change. And I start talking about those more atheistic points. But somebody always, inevitably, without fail, takes that first bit, clips it up, makes it black and white, puts some hopeful music in the background, and puts it onto some, like, Jesus Instagram page. How do we explain the fact that this man gets crucified by the Romans, and then people claim to see him after he died? And just to show you how bad... Okay. I want to stop right there, because this happens to Alex all the time. It happens to a lot of atheists all the time. I don't know that it's happened to me, but it probably has, where people will take something I say out of context so badly. And this is a good case. He's given a really good case here where he's taken out of context. It illustrates the dishonesty of Christian apologetics when they do this. Like, you're completely misrepresenting what somebody is saying out of context. You're saying that they're making this definitive statement about the stuff, and it's not definitive. You've got to look at the rest of it. Okay, you've got to look at the rest of what a person says in context. Like, I could make the statement that, yeah, I can see that, Paul had this Damascus Road expression thing on the Damascus Road in the book of Acts. And if that's all, he obviously sincerely believed that Jesus was risen from the dead. Okay. But if that's where they stop the clip, and I keep going on where I talk about, well, yes, but he was very guilty about certain things. He's having these experiences. The book of Acts is basically a one-shot wonder, purely for the Bible tells you so, because nobody else records this thing. And in the book of Acts, when he tells the story to different people, he changes the story like 3 different times. So it's like, if you didn't put the rest of what I said on there and just had the first part, it would look like I was endorsing that Paul really felt that he had an experience. Like, it's like, did he or didn't he? So it's like I don't know how Christians can claim any kind of honesty and high morality when they pull somebody out of context like this. So you tell every parent celebrate. So I tell them in my video, looks to say, like a zombie, your stepdad isn't amused. Yeah, the zombie thing never amuses them. Yes, the 500 witnesses who are never named. Like, who are they? Oh, it just says 500. Who are they? Did they give their affidavit? Did they give a name? Did they write down their testimony? Nope. So we just made up a number. Hey, Elizabeth. Yeah, we missed you. Yeah, I've made the conclusion that Jesus is a demi-lich. Like, it fits the motif better. So an undead sorcerer. Yeah, I think that fits it better. So. And dishonest this can get. Let me show you one of the most popular reels of this kind. 45,000 likes. The caption is, Jesus's genius moment. #God, #Jesus, #Christianity, #4U page. So let's take a look at this. Probably, well, it's one of my favorite stories in the Gospels, where Jesus says, he who's without sin cast the first stone. Because it's a religious test, because you've got this Jesus peaceful figure, and there's a woman who's committed adultery, and the law's quite clear that the woman should be stoned. And Jesus is just like writing in the sand, and the Pharisees are like, okay, come on then, Jesus, what are you going to do here? It clearly says that she should be stoned. That's what the law says. And he's like writing in the sand. He's kind of ignoring them. And they say, Jesus, what should we do here? The law's quite clear. We need to stone this woman. And they're testing him. What's he going to do? And he says, sure, yeah, okay, go ahead. But he who's without sin casts the first stone. Oh, man, it's brilliant. It's awesome. It's like ethical genius. It sort of undercuts at the same time as not contradicting the truth of the law or the justice. It's this brilliant moment. It's this brilliant moment. Yeah, that does sound pretty pro-Christianity, doesn't it? And look at some of the comments. He is so close to Jesus. Bro's starting to get it. He's so close. times like 15. Okay, you want to see something funny? Let's look at where that clip was taken from and listen to the very next words out of my mouth. You know, it's this brilliant moment, but unfortunately, it's not in our earliest manuscripts, and so most scholars believe that it's a later interpolation. But unfortunately, it's not in our earliest manuscripts, and so most scholars believe it's a later interpolation. That is to...
Yep, they leave that part off. And the reason they leave the criticism out. And that's why when you go to theist channels and you see these quotes by atheists, you need to hop over to the video where it was taken from. And my challenge to you theists is, why do you do this? This is dishonest propagandizing. I thought you people were against lying. Like I try to react to an entire video just to make sure that I'm not taking things out of context. And it's like, why can't you do that? Like, why can't you be the guy that goes, hey, you know, maybe we shouldn't be taking this stuff out of context? And yeah, it's like, it's always out of context. Earl's absolutely right. It's always out of context. Like, they left off that last part because it's true. The woman caught in adultery story is a later addition. Some pious person put it in a copy, and that copy got copied. And that's all it is. And whether that story actually happened is one of the most controversial things in scripture. Like, it's a popular story that was going around in a certain time frame, and people found a way to get it into the Bible. It's like the longer ending of Mark. Like, that's another one that's like, it doesn't have a resurrection. If you end Mark where it ends, like it's verse 8:16:8, there is no resurrection story, none. And so some pious whoever added that on at the end and caused a whole bunch of controversy. We know those two things are big additions to the Gospels. Okay, and so if they're treating it that way, then you obviously have to know that the stories were just going around and getting retold. And by the time they got written down 20, 30, 40 years later, they've gotten bigger. This is why the mythological development of Jesus is very evident in the Gospels if you put them in chronological order. Like, you can see where Mark has this initial view, and then you see Luke and Matthew adding their own stuff, and they don't add the same stuff. They're doing it for different purposes. And John, holy cow, like, he's off the world. Jesus becomes Superman. And they leave these parts of the quotes out. Like, somebody could say, I'm sure there's somewhere in some of my videos where somebody could clip out a part where I'm affirming Christianity or presenting the Christian view, and then they would leave out the part where I'm being critical. That's exactly what's happening here. And I have to, I give Alex props for showing this, because I think he needs to show how this happens, because a lot of people just don't. So, okay, first of all, Jesus dying under Pontius Pilate is purely the Gospels tell you so. There is no other historical record. Okay, just because people, once again, people believe they saw a risen Christ doesn't mean it actually happened. There are plenty of people, this is a well-documented psychological phenomenon to this day, where people see people who have died after they have died because they were very close to them, very emotionally attached. They're still dead. Okay, just because people believe somebody rose from the dead or see somebody from the dead, we know that as a modern phenomenon. It still happens. Widows still see their dead husbands a month later. Okay, it happens. That is, just because somebody believed that they saw somebody doesn't mean it happened. Okay, and also these are all shooting around the actual event. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. What proof do you have actually for Jesus's body being infused by the power of God? So he got up and walked out of the tomb. That is the event you're trying to prove. What proof do you have for that? Sorry, I don't care about the conversion of James. There's plenty of people there. There's also a possibility that the apostles deconverted because they didn't believe it anymore, but we never talk about that. You're giving me all of Habermas's, like, minimal facts theory, and none of them actually deal with the actual resurrection. Just because somebody believes something happened doesn't mean it's so. There are plenty of people in this world that believe Muhammad received some sort of instruction from the angel Gabriel in a cave somewhere. They believe that very sincerely. Does that make it true? Like, just because, his minimal witnesses theory is brilliant because it deals with this very issue. You can have plenty of people believe something. There are people that believe something so damn sincerely that they flew airplanes into towers. Okay, so the sincerity of belief leading to martyrdom doesn't prove the truthfulness of the historical claim. So what we have, and I think what we have with history, with Christianity, we have some people that sincerely believe the cult. I think that's and it just happened to be one of those cults back in then that got big and grew. Okay, because people sincerely believed it. There are people that sincerely believe today that, they saw Jesus or Mary or whoever. Does that make it true? No. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to deal with, as a pastor, I had people come to me. I just saw the person that just died and I did a funeral for. I thought I saw them, but then I realized it's like sincere belief that you've seen somebody after they're dead is so common. Like I've heard reports like it's 1 out of 10 people sincerely believe that they saw somebody that they were close to that died, up to 80%. Okay, of some studies. So there's like this. They're trying to get this narrowed down to what percentage it probably is, but it's going to be like 30 or 40% of people, if they're close to somebody and that person dies tragically, they have a very high realization, a very high possibility of having them being alive after they're dead experience. Okay, they see that, they have a vision of that. Okay, so you can have a sincere belief about a vision all you want. It just still doesn't make it anything more than a vision. Okay, sincere belief doesn't actually deal with the problem. Okay, I don't care that James converted. A lot of people, without seeing things, convert. Okay, and it's not really clear that James was a critic. They just thought they're, according to the text. Once again, I have to say this about the gospel accounts. Okay, I love y'all that want to bring up the gospels to me, but you need to put the word allegedly in front of anything the gospel claims. Allegedly, James was a critic, and allegedly he converted. Because what you have with the Gospels is anonymous authorship with anonymous sources. It wouldn't get past the standards of hearsay in a courtroom today. It would be thrown out. Okay, you couldn't use it. Okay, and so if that's the kind of evidence you're going to give me, you need to do better. So, yeah, he might have been hallucinogen. That's my point. Like, there are so many other claims in other religions of people, things that people see and believe in. But Christians dismiss them as being unreal, but their own claims they hold sacred. And that's the problem. Okay, if you're not giving the same criticism to your own beliefs that you give to other belief systems, you're being dishonest with yourself. Okay, the biggest damning thing that I ever did for my faith was basically, starting to examine my own claims the same way I was being dismissive of other claims of other religions. And amazingly, somehow that works. Yeah, it's definitely for the Bible tells me so. So, like, all of that stuff that you mentioned is just for the Bible tells me so. So,
say that our earliest manuscripts of John's Gospel, the only Gospel in which you'll find this story today, don't contain this story, indicating that at some point it was added in later. It wasn't a part of the original Gospel. I mean, look, to make this really clear, let's go back for a moment and look at what Chris actually asked me. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe that was, a later interpolation, because the Quran is the word of God.
What's an interpolation?
Oh, like a later edition.
Okay.
So something that's added later into the text. So like earlier I mentioned the stoning of the adulterous woman, which is it's one of my favorite stories in the Gospels. And that's where the real starts, right? So Chris has asked me, what's an interpolation? I say, well, it's when someone has kind of taken a text and like sneakily added in something later that isn't historical. Then I start explaining this story. That's where the real starts. Then the real ends, immediately after which I say, it's this brilliant moment, but unfortunately it's not in our earliest manuscripts. And so most scholars believe that it's a later interpolation. So in this moment on Chris Williamson's podcast, I'm arguing for the unreliability of the gospel narrative. And someone has chopped off the context either side, made it black and white, put some fancy music behind it, and is now trying to pass it off as a kind of pro-Jesus piece of content. I mean, the reason why I'm saying, this is my favorite story in the Gospels, and I think Jesus is so cool here, is to point out that some of my favorite parts about who Jesus is aren't historical. They're not really part of the original gospel narrative. And you know what's really annoying about this? Because these are literally the next words out of my mouth, whoever edited this reel knew what they were doing. Like they fully...
I want to stop there, because that's true. The person who edited that video knew exactly what they were doing. They were chopping off the parts that didn't make their case, and they knew it. They absolutely had to know what Alex said before and after that clip. They knew where to chop it. They knew where to cut it. Now I have to ask all the theists in the room, how the hell is that honest? You know, you guys keep telling me that the only way to have morality is to believe in God because you believe God is watching you. Do you think God is pleased when you misrepresent somebody you're against? Do you think your God, who is supposedly this moral being, is pleased when you engage in propagandist tactics like that, where you remove the part that doesn't do it for you, but does it for somebody else? Like, I have to ask that question, because how is that honest? How is there any integrity in that? Like, I'm very painstakingly, like, you know, I've got like this for me doing this video reaction. I have the clip of this video in my description, so you can go watch it to see if I was honest with the context. Like, how is that honest? And why aren't you as a Christian going to that Christian content creator right now and saying, you were dishonest and you lied? Why should anybody listen to you anymore? Because we now know that you're editing your opponents to make them look like they're on your side. That's not honesty. That's not integrity. So I don't know. Yeah. Why aren't you protesting this? Why aren't you out there going, hey, what are you doing? Okay. Like, if I can't tell you the number of times I've seen things in the atheist sphere where an atheist has said something wrong or people disagree, and we go after them. Like, the skeptical part of us never shuts off, even when it's our own. Okay. But Christians will literally edit stuff like this out and do this all the time. And it's propagandish. And guess what? Christians never call them on it. They'll have another video just like it a week later. And it drives me nuts. Okay. It just drives me nuts. So, yeah, it's not honest. That's the point. Yeah. I mean, is it acceptable? Why is this acceptable? I don't know how you accept this. Yeah. They don't look up the video. The thing I've learned with religious folks, and I used to be this way, anything that fed my confirmation bias, I would just say, yep, that's right, and move along. So yeah, I don't know. I get tired of that. Like, I've seen it so many times. I'm waiting for somebody to do it to me because I will read them in the riot act if they do. Like, don't quote me out of context. Make sure you got the context in there. Yeah, they don't take responsibility for their actions. So I don't get it. But I'm supposed to be the immoral one, Elizabeth, that I don't like. I do things the right way, even though I don't believe anybody's watching, because I just believe it's good for me and other people. But somehow they've got to have the superior morality because somebody's watching, like Big Brother. And yet, even though they believe he's watching, they still do this crap. So yes, yeah.
Really knew the point that I was trying to make. They had listened through and were like waiting for a moment to pull, and they just knew that I was arguing here that this is not a historical story. And they've just taken it anyway and turned it into some Christian content. And I see these kinds of reels and TikToks like all the time. People keep taking my material and turning it into pro-Christian content. Like, look, here's another example from He Chose You on Instagram. Alex O'Connor admits to be Christian. I'll save you some time. I did not do that. Here's a more recent example from Speak Life, 42,000 likes. Stephen Bartlett is saying that he used to be an atheist, and just look at my face.
Such a staunch atheist. And I read all those books at 18 years old, and I was debating dog walkers on the street. But I now find myself in a position where I'm almost back to being curious again.
Man, it kind of looks like I'm praying or something, except I didn't make those faces in that moment. Those expressions are taken from a different part of the podcast around half an hour later and just like spliced in for some reason. And of course,
okay, and I'm going to say this at that point. This is even more egregious. Like, you're not even keeping the reactions to what's being said in the same context at this point. Like, you're literally propagandizing at this point. Like, oh my God. Good, valid question. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, welcome. Welcome, citizen, to the Rabyd Nation. Enjoy your time here. Yeah, I know. But to me, this is even worse, skeptic. Like this
ends
person,
with my recommendation.
But this is even worse to me, because they're literally taking parts of the video that weren't what this other guy was talking in, and they're pulling different reactions and splicing them together with a different comment, and they're not even in the same context of the conversation. And so it makes it look like this guy is just it makes like, oh, he's just getting through to Alex. No, this is a different part where Alex was genuinely frustrated with the reasoning, but right here, no, he's not. He's just like listening very intently. This is even more dishonest. Like, it's like you're literally editing and clipping things to represent things in a way that it did not happen. Like, it did not happen. Yeah, it's super gross to me too. It's like the one is like clipping the back and end, so it's taken out of context. This one is completely changing the context. Like, it's completely altering the context into something that it was not. Okay, so you're creating a lie at this point. So I just got another soul. So that's one way to welcome. But I do welcome all my new citizens. Welcome. So thank you. Appreciate you being here. But yes, my issue, much like that with anything with the Gospels, is like you have people that could have been just making stuff up. Like, it's like there's a lot of cults that have made stuff up to get followers. So yes, the plague, apologists, liars, Christians lie all the time. Why should I don't know. I think like there's also the idea that people could be very mistaken. And given a superstitious culture back in the day, I can see where people could be very mistaken and very sincere. But at the same time, it's like it's not dwelling in reality anymore. It's an old system that doesn't work. And so the idea that these guys are like, yeah, they're not Christians, so it doesn't. See, that's the other thing that I think a lot of other people have gotten to, John. Like, somehow there's a morality I have to file with my fellow Christians where I have to be honest, nice, and all this other stuff. But with anybody else, I can lie and cheat. Like, for some reason, this mentality exists. Like, you're allowed to be bad to people that don't believe as you do. And I think this is what justifies some of this clipping. Like, I'm allowed to change that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Valid question.
To read the Gospels.
What would you suggest?
If it seemed to me going to church or reading the Gospels might provide that for him, then I'd probably recommend that he did that. But neglect to mention that this is just one option I give, among others, including taking psychedelic drugs.
If he came to you and he was your friend in Dubai,
yeah,
and he said, my life is lacking meaning, I can't get out of bed anymore, what would you prescribe him? What would you recommend? What would you suggest as he's your friend?
It's hard to know without knowing that friend. But if it seemed to me like going to church or reading the Gospels might provide that for him, then I'd probably recommend that he did that. But I think that literally the subjective feeling of meaning is usually tied up in the identification of something that transcends your individual self.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Why would you?
And I think whatever is the most plausible course of action for that person to engage in something like that would be what I would recommend for them. If maybe they're not particularly interested in religion, I'd recommend that they read some philosophy of mind and try to understand the nature of consciousness. And I might recommend, depending on who they are, that they take a psychedelic drug and try to experience something which cannot be put into words. I wasn't asked where someone should go for philosophical truth. I was asked what I would recommend a friend do if they were feeling depressed. And if I thought that reading the Bible would help my friend to stop being depressed, I'd tell them to read the Bible. If I thought that studying philosophy of mind would do that, I'd tell them to do that, because that's a totally different question to what I think is true. I mean, just type in Alex O'Connor Christianity into TikTok or Instagram or something, and you will just see this endless list of videos which make it seem as though I'm some kind of Christian apologist. By the way, in all of these clips, I've replaced the backing music to something similar, but that's not going to get me a copyright strike. But just imagine like No Surprises by Radiohead, or like some famous Christian piano worship music. That's the stuff that's actually there. Like, it's actually kind of annoying. It would be a bit like if a Christian, say John Lennox or somebody, were to sit for an interview and say, you know, the first thing I want to say is that atheists need to be taken seriously. You know, the problem of evil is a serious challenge, and I can understand why that would make someone doubt the existence of God. And then he goes on to say, but this is my answer. If somebody just like clipped that first bit where he says that the problem of evil is a really good reason not to believe in God, and they like uploaded it onto an atheist Instagram account and made it all black and white and put some dramatic music in the background and tried to like pass it off as if John Lennox was arguing for atheism, I think that that would be, shall we say, a little bit unfair to him and unfair to the people who are watching who now think that John Lennox believes something that he doesn't. And I don't really mind it. It's the internet. You can't stop people from doing things like that. And anybody who's that interested could take 5 minutes to check the source material and realize the context in which I'm speaking, or look at any of my other work and realize that I'm not exactly on board with Orthodox Christianity. But just bear that in mind, maybe the next time you see one of these Reels or TikToks, and certainly the next time you see me talking positively about Christianity and saying that it might be more plausible than the new atheists give it credit for. Please do not read this as me being on the verge of a conversion, and certainly don't read it as me partaking in some kind of grift. I mean, seriously, think about this for just a moment. Suppose I were trying to, grift. Suppose I were trying to sort of get the Christians on board. I want their money. I want the popularity of Christianity. Do you think it would make any sense if I were trying to grift in this way? That, yeah, sure, I'll say Christianity is more plausible than Richard Dawkins thinks that it is, which is not saying much. But at the same time, I'll say things like, the God that...
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I think my view of Christianity is a little bit more positive than Richard Dawkins. Isn't a very high bar. It is a valid point. So it's like, I don't know. We'll see. But we also, Alex is going to point out, I say that, but I also say this,
Suppose I were trying to sort of get the Christians on board. I want their money. I want the popularity of Christianity. Do you think it would make any sense if I were trying to grift in this way? That, yeah, sure, I'll say Christianity is more plausible than Richard Dawkins thinks that it is, which is not saying much. But at the same time, I'll say things like, the God that you believe in is acting like a tribal war god. We don't have anything like this kind of extant written testimony for the resurrection of Jesus. At best, this text says one thing on one day and another on the next. There is just no way to come away from it thinking that God was not okay with the ownership of other human beings, with bequeathing them to children as inheritable private property, with mistreatment of them so long as they're not an Israelite slave, and therefore also doing it based on, I would say, maybe race, maybe tribe, whatever term you want to use. Yeah, it really sounds like I'm trying to grift Christianity, or that I'm on the verge of some kind of inevitable conversion. And look, I do understand that choosing a particular moment and turning it into a clip can say something in itself. I mean, yeah, sure, okay, you're just saying that Christianity isn't complete and utter nonsense, but why do you have to choose that moment to make a clip out of? We're churning out clips all the time, and I'm really happy with the engagement that I'm getting on these.
Okay, so I think we're kind of winding up with his main points. I don't know if it's cooked. Yeah, he's kind of great at that. Yeah, he is. He's making a valid point there at the end. His channel and his other channels churn out a lot of material, and I'm fairly certain he's not doing it all himself. He's got to have somebody helping him with that. So, yeah. But greatest conceivable mustache. All right. Well, I think I'm going to call it for Alex. Here, let me see. But I think I've made my point with this. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. So let's see. Okay. Hold on. All right, let's see. Can I save as? Hold on. I got a clip from the dim dark past. I don't know if it's going to let me upload it, or I don't know how. It's quite possible that I don't know how. Oh, there it is. I don't know if it'll show. Yep, it's saying I can't. It's invalid, so I can't do it that way. I'll have to upload it at the next session on Monday. So, so thanks. Oh, but yes. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock in Michigan. I'm getting ready to like have my night off. So I enjoyed everything today, but I think if I were to do any takeaways from this, it's like whenever you see somebody saying that somebody else has just become a Christian, be very skeptical. There's a lot of clippers out there. There's a lot of people who misrepresent stuff. There's a lot of people that do other things. But yeah, I'll definitely get that clip out because it's very funny, and I'll show it Monday. So, but thanks everybody for stopping by. I do need to take a break, and I do need to get something to eat. So thanks everybody. But I wanted to deal with this issue because I think it illustrates a lot of points of what Christians do and what atheists do. And so yes, press X to doubt. So there you go. There you go. So thanks everybody. May fangs nibble on all of your hearts. I want to thank everybody for showing up. Thank you to the new citizen. Thank you to all the donations today. Late night, Asho, being forever here, Martin, Senator, and Evan, and our new member, TJ Rogan. Oh, there you go. TJ Rogan. There we go. So thanks everybody. Appreciate all of you for your donations. Appreciate all of it. May fangs nibble on all of your hearts. May he keep your vegetables pure from religious corruption. Make sure you put out a circumcised carrot onto your stash, because that will keep it safe from fangs, because he won't take your stash. He'll take the most holy of vegetables. Wait 2 seconds. I was waiting for Earl. Always, always. Earl says wait, so I'm waiting. Earl has something to say. Oh, yeah. We're used to it. It's okay. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna try this one. Hold on. No, I'm still not accessing it. It's sad. Either that or my technical skills are showing its limits. Who runs this channel? It's a debatable point, so it is. It is a debatable point. Something's not working for me, Earl. Something decided to shut off. I don't know. It's definitely the right format. Okay. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try to save it again. And let's see if I can run this again. StreamYard has decided to be difficult, so. Where is it? Nope, still says it's invalid. Usually what I have to do, Earl, is I use StreamYard, yeah, but I think sometimes with StreamYard, they want everything perfect in a special file and everything. I've had to screw with videos more than once to get them right. So here, I'll try one more time. Okay, so I'm having a Gen X moment. There are moments when you have, as a Gen Xer, you have to sometimes, realize the technology has moved on. Yeah, they're still considering it an invalid file. Probably because you're giving it to me via Messenger, and they don't like that. So that's kind of the way it's working. But I will get that absolutely Monday because it's such a great moment. There's a couple great moments that I want to talk about. So, so yeah, ask my grandkids. Yeah, I probably will. I'm having one of those moments. It's just not. Every time I try to upload it, StreamYard is saying, "Sorry, this isn't compatible with us." So it would be no problem. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem if it was a VCR. No. I've got a limited technological window that I'm worth working with. So there's that. So. Yes. Yeah, you can play it on your own stream too. And I will endeavor to put it in the proper format that StreamYard will take from me. For some reason, it just does not like it. So I will have to figure that out later, but I will do that. But as to where I was, yes, trying to get something to eat. Yes. So, but thanks everybody for stopping by. Appreciate all of you. We will definitely have the clips up I'm going to work hard on that and get them up there, but I will, we'll get that done. So thanks everybody. But, may fangs nibble on all your hearts and nom nom and all that. And I think the next time I'll be appearing is Monday. I think I'm going to move Mondays to a little bit whatever I feel like doing that day. So it might be anything at this point. So just be advised. So, but I will definitely show those clips then because they are funny and some of the lore is born there and they're hilarious. So I'm definitely going to do that. Thanks everybody. Appreciate you stopping by. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So you want to take all your time, money, and opportunities and give them to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith because that's a dead end. I speaks from experience. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you all next.
It's time to take a